Thank
Marion.
you, Cordula. Thank you. Thank you, Cordula. Thank you, Gilbert. Welcome, Marion. We continue with the mini live presentation in relation
In
to the training program. So, looking forward to the presentation of Marion. Thank you, Marion. Here you are.
Thank you, everyone. And how fitting that Cordelia would put us through a beautiful concentration and also to talk about eternal life and our possibilities. So, in this important part of mastering the present is to be able to understand you not at the mental level or just the physical level, but to understand that you are also soul. And in the realm of soul, you already have everything that is available to you. This journey of mastering the present is being able to go on the journey and discover just how powerful you really are. All right, hang on for a sec. I've still got my wording from translation. All right, let's go. So, how would you explain humans to an alien? It had me thinking because that came up on this week, and so let me get started with that and our drive for eternal life in our physical body. And it's a massive topic when you bring it up with people. When you reference Grigori Grabovoy's book, one of my favorite books, The Resurrection of People and Eternal Life, from now on is your reality. It's interesting to see where people's consciousness are around that topic. And even when you suggest to them that you could live in your physical body in eternity, and they sort of mouth open, very surprised, and their thinking, their programming comes in there, and it's like, no, I wouldn't want to be left without my family. And they have images of themselves as old and decrepit, putting up with a life they have led in this life, but multiply it by hundreds or thousands of years. And their first answer is usually, no, I wouldn't want to do that. But when you dive into it and look at the wisdom that Grabovoi has, that we have access to us, but also to help to shape and form our thinking in a different direction. Sorry, I just need to move you all onto the other side. At the moment, AI is a massive topic, and I always look what's happening in the collective consciousness to get an idea of where the thinking is and how the thoughts of the collective are being driven. We have to understand that most people have lost their divine connection to their soul. They have lost trust in who they truly are. They look to outer sources to give them advice as to how to run their life. And they really feel at times very lost. So we're being asked at this point of time on the planet to really be mindful of what we wish to create, to listen to our soul and our soul's impulse when it really tells us, no, this is perhaps not information you should listen to, or when the soul really feels very excited and gives you that inspiration that, yes, this is the information that is true for you. And this is probably what happened to me back in 2011 when Grabovoi knowledge found my husband and I, and we've been on this massive journey ever since. I want to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. You mightn't be aware. It seems to be weaving its way into every part of our life, whether we like it or not. So, artificial intelligence is the theory and development of computer systems capable of performing tasks that historically required human intelligence, such as recognizing speech, making decisions, and identifying patterns. AI is an umbrella term that encompasses a wide variety of technologies, including machine learning, deep learning, and natural language processing, such as neurolinguistic programming, where artificial intelligence is being pushed is so that it becomes almost a synthetic version of humans, that it becomes, that it has a higher intelligence, that in fact its speed is faster than humans, and in some way, in the thinking of the collective, can think, what is the relevance of me as a human when computers are now taking over? I don't even have to think to write an article. I can get AI to come in. And this is where we have to sit and think a little bit to ourselves, how much do you let artificial intelligence play a part, and then how much you need to keep of your own consciousness, making your own decisions, doing your own thinking, especially your own critical thinking, which seems to have been vastly lost in the years, especially the last 5 years. So recently, I was watching social media, and a lot of people are asking artificial intelligence all sorts of questions. And amongst it, the artificial intelligence gave an interesting reply when it was asked to explain to what would you explain to an alien about a human? And amongst the answers, one of the answers was the program of death has been installed into the matrix of the collective consciousness. And I thought, I wonder how many people really understand that, because dying, disease, and death seems to be what is considered the norm. So there are many differences between a synthetic world of AI and the organic world of humans. AI does not distort the information through perception or emotions. This makes humans very unique as a holographic image of the prime creator God. Yes, we are the creator. Let's consider the movie The Matrix. In essence, some say The Matrix was in fact a documentary explaining the programming affecting the human experience, and more importantly, pointing to the sacredness of organic life with all of its nuances versus the synthetic programmed existence. I only picked on one movie, but there are many movies that have been programming us over time, whether it's Stargate, Star Wars, many movies, and that's what they have to do. They have to show us what is actually happening, what they're doing, and along the way, it helps to seed our thinking. So let's consider then death, that it has been programmed into our psyche of the human and is reinforced by nefarious control systems to distort our thinking and our belief. And the question arises here is, why would they do that? Humans are considered amongst many alien races, because there are many, we're considered quite sacred because we have certain universal laws that we follow, freedom to choose. We are creators. This is why the systems need us. They cannot create in the way that humans can create. We are divinely connected to the creator. We have a soul, spirit, and a consciousness with a physical body to assist us in the journey of life. And they're also wanting us to feel less than, small, and totally disconnected from the fact that we have all the wisdom built within us. If only we would go looking there instead of spending hours asking AI about spiritual topics and how to do life. So it amuses me that people are doing this. So in Grabavoy's book, as I said, one of my favorite books, and he writes, the true status of the world is in eternal life. Eternal life ensures the true world stability. The desire for a stable world creates eternal life. He who has not experienced death is the base which reproduces everything else. God is such a base. God is eternal. He's never experienced death. Everything else follows from that fact. And this is not a new topic, although it might be for some of you if you go back and look at some of the ancient texts, the original Aramaic Bible. It talked about Noah, who lived for 963 years. Baird T. Spalding wrote a book back in the early 1900s called The Masters of the Far East, which are journals of him traveling to the Far East because he heard about the masters who would be able to teleport, be able to manifest, to walk on water, and all sorts of things. So his journals talk about his experience and all the realities of being eternal in a physical body. So I wanted to look at, is this information apart from Grabovoi in the world? And it very much is already. It's already seeded in the consciousness out there, but not many people have picked up. One of my favorite researchers is Greg Braden. He's written many books and he explains things in a way that is simple for people to get onto. Part of his research is he's looking back into ancient texts and he started to have a look at, what is the basic elements of our DNA. He said it's hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon. And what he did was took that and mapped it onto the ancient Arabic alphabet and other alphabets. In these languages, our genetic code spells the ancient name of God. The same name lives within all humans, regardless of their actions, their beliefs, their lifestyle, their religion, or heritage. And he said this relationship was described in the sacred text, such as the Hebrew Sefer Yetzirah, at least 1,000 years before modern science verified such connection. So this was already known of our divine connection that is written within the DNA. And he talks about the first sentence of every single strand of DNA, of which we have more than two. DNA, it starts with God eternal within the body. That's the first sentence based on what his mapping has done and his research. And then it goes on to whatever that strand of DNA is happening. Can you think about it, the programming that we've had in the past about DNA? We only have two strands, says the scientist. The rest is junk. Really, as if God would just decide to throw into the body some junk DNA because he has nothing else to do with it to store it in there. And we've bought the lie. We've bought the lie because we've actually trusted people outside of ourselves instead of going in and asking, is this true in my heart? Is this the true knowledge of my soul or of the Creator? So in Grabovoy's books, he says, in The Resurrection of People and Eternal Life, he says, when we develop our own consciousness, we change the world structure. We change our consciousness. We gradually change the collective consciousness. So very much, it's not about going out and rescuing everybody. It's about us, and we affect everybody in the unified field. And as a result, we have the world we need because it is this world that will be manifest in reality. And this is the mechanism of the world's transformation. And more people are accepting this. For all of you who are on the journey with Grigori Grabovoy's teachings, the knowledge of eternal life is threaded through every part of the 31-day concentrations that we do, just to help to seed our consciousness, and not only that, but for us to come to the realization. I wonder if you ever thought over the last 5 years, when we've had such turmoil in the world, when we've had so many control systems telling us what to do. What was it that made a group of people on Earth not accept the programming that was being rolled out to the collective? What did they have within them that everyone else didn't seem to have? From my own perspective, when I was presented with something that was against life, I knew that life in me was a very strong structure. It wasn't something I had a logical thought about. I didn't just come on the idea. It was a heart knowing. And every cell in my body was resonating to life. Every one of my choices was because I value the thought of life. And I ponder sometimes, how do people arrive at the point where they no longer value life, that they wish to take it, to end the life, to escape to what they consider is, and what has been programmed in through organized religion, that you could only enjoy an eternal life once you've gone through death, and how we've been programmed, unfortunately. So eternal life is our destination. There are many people currently on earth who are aware that they hold the sacred knowledge of eternal life within their DNA. This means they bring the information of eternal life into the structure of the world because they hold it in their structure of their DNA and in their consciousness. Therefore, this information already exists in the consciousness, so we can reprogram our consciousness with another sequence of grab a voice for eternal life, 14899999. So we're going to do a control around this so that we can play, as I like to say, with our consciousness and play in the field. So let's this means the limited boundaries of the third dimensional existence we've been programmed to live with only the program of what you see with your eyes is real and the rest is rubbish, has been exposed for its limitations as humanity heads in a new direction of a divine reality, what they call a golden age, the return to heaven on earth, which is already here. We just have to raise our frequency and change our consciousness. In fact, living eternal in a physical body. In fact, humanity is evolving to this, and it will not be stopped by even any AI system. So imagine what it means to live in eternity. And I really want you to think about this in days and months ahead, because if we are the creators of our world, then how we think about eternity, all the elements that we want to have in this area, we're helping to bring the structure of eternity as if using in different languages, shifting the frequency so that it becomes very strong in the collective's thinking. So where we're heading is into advanced consciousness and the greater frontier. And that's what all the teachers are here to gathered in the beautiful teaching that we're doing in the Grigori Grabovoi Academy about mastering our reality. Because if you can't master your reality, then it will be very hard for you to shift into higher consciousness or advanced consciousness, or really move into eternal life. So how do we erase the program of death? First, we have to acknowledge where it exists. I have to say, I've been part of it in one of my careers in the aesthetic industry, in the beauty industry. I programmed it into people every day. You know, oh, Mrs. Jones, you're over 40 now. Those lines around your eyes, you need to get this cream. When we count down our years and mark the years, like I'm 63 now, I'm getting old. Of course, it's normal to have aches and pains. No, that's programming your cells. Your cells are listening to every thought. Fear of death, where you have this horrible thought that there's a judgment day that there's a judging God that would say, no, you've been bad, you go to hell. You've been good, and give you a big tick and you go to heaven. That has been part of the false organized religion that had us in that karmic wheel, which changed back in 2012. Karma no longer exists as it was, as a structure. We all have a choice whether we want to live or die, freedom to choose. My choice is always for life, and I enjoy the adventure. The other part of it is that we've had programmed is suffering is the norm. So getting old and suffering, I need to bear it. I will soldier on. Listen to the words that you use that program. And death. More people plan their death than they plan their life. And my father-in-law died recently. I don't know how many times the family said, would you like to buy the plots next to us? It's very nice. It's over a hill. You can see the kangaroos. The sky's beautiful. And I say to them, perhaps you did not get the memo. I'm living for eternity. And they just laugh at me and think I'm silly, but I actually mean it. So here we are in the present. We live in a dimension currently of time and space. We have 80 dimensions of time and space. Our consciousness can be in the past or in the future, or not even in the reality, very ungrounded. If we think of a sphere around us as the sphere of our creating, and in that sphere, we have many different structures. I've entered into there today the structure that eternal life is absolutely possible. And we do need everybody to be on the same page for us to really bring it into physical reality. But also there are other distorted information that sits in our field of creating. We have the distortion of death. It's like a virus in the collective consciousness, how willingly they agree that it's very good to die. And I think of Grabavoy's words. He said, think of it logically. You live 50 years, you gain a little bit of knowledge, you live for another 20 or 30 years, you die, and you start all over again with no knowledge. And really, I think we're all moving away from that thinking. That's the old karma wheel, the samsara wheel. It's like Groundhog Day and us very never learning. And I don't particularly want to recycle again at all. So within our field of creating, we have certain different structures. We can listen to our thinking. Do we believe in death? Do we believe in sickness and suffering? So we start in our thinking. Is it still in my thinking? Well, if it's still in your thinking, it is a structure in your field of creating. For me, those distorted structures on this slide are really those little ink blocks compared to the structures of creation, which are the beautiful spheres that are here. All we have to do is start to be aware when our thinking is locking on to some of those distorted structures. And so there are many ways that you can shift that. You can use number sequences. You can use the principles of changing reality, where you alter different elements that you see to shift the distortion. But for today, we're going to use a number sequence for eternal life. And we're going to use it in your field of creating information. One of the things that I'm going to suggest, you can choose your own name for what you're calling eternal life, but one of the things that tricks your logical mind into locking into the idea of eternal life is if you tell it, I am in the process of living in eternal life. Because the logical mind won't disagree with that at all. It can understand you being in the process of living eternal life here. So let's have a look at this sphere and imagine that you had some of those words that I mentioned before about aging, that you're counting down the number of years that you've been here on the planet, that your death is part of your programming or could be. We can have a look in our consciousness, in our spiritual vision, or for those that aren't very visual, if you were to ask your soul, is there a structure, a distorted structure within my sphere of creating information, creating reality? And if you get a quick yes, and it will be quick, it will be within 3 seconds. Anything else after 3 seconds is your logical mind. And if you hear a yes, then this is a very good practice for you to do. You know that there's a structure sitting in your field that is programming you in the here and now, programming your cells because your cells are listening, programming that death is part of you. And we really want to forbid death. So let's imagine in front of us we have a beautiful silvery white sphere. And we place within that sphere the number sequence 148999. 148999. 148999. And we also enter into this sphere the thought, I'm in the process of living in eternal life. Now imagine that that sphere that you have in front of you starts to grow and expand to the point that it encompasses your whole sphere of creating reality. So just watch what happens with the sphere which contains the information of eternal life as it starts to expand. Are you noticing that it's dynamic and spinning? Are you noticing perhaps it's starting to bounce off the areas of your sphere of creating? Are you noticing perhaps that it is changing color? Or perhaps in the process of expanding this sphere so it encompasses your whole sphere of reality, that the sphere of your reality is starting to lighten up. For those who are more sensitive, you may feel it as a release or a breath as it comes to the point of realization. Some of you may get a tingling on your skin, even with the words, I am in the process of living in eternal life. Some of you just might feel lighter, like a pressure has gone. In the presence of the light of eternity, no distortion can exist. We are switching on the light of eternity, and those distortions that were in our field are now being exposed, and they are now in the power of the light of eternity. And they've moved to a tiny little dot to the point where they are non-existent anymore. So I'm just going to give you a small moment just to be aware of what's happening into your sphere of creating with the information of eternal life. Let it be like a mantra for you. I'm in the process of living in eternal life. 148999. Some of you might be feeling your body heating up, which is all feedback that the transformation process, that the information is already seeping into your consciousness and into your cells. So I hoped you liked diving into the field of eternity today and the possibility that is really available to us through Brevivoy's teachings, but specifically in the mastering of reality, where you start to really delve in. And the one thing I wanted to say, you might think that you're just staying here because you've listened to the daily concentrations, or perhaps you've just jumped in because we're doing a mini training. I know anybody that is here is because they are ready to accept this information. It's not by chance that you turn up here. Your soul always directs you in the right place at the right time with the right information. So enjoy, everyone, and thanks everyone for being here. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Marion, for such a masterpiece of presentation touching so important topics of artificial intelligence, of the programming, of the importance of development of consciousness, of our capability to create and correct the false programming. Thank you so much for the concentration as well. We for sure all enjoy it. I'm looking forward to your topics in the training program. Thank you all who participated today in this daily concentration program and mini live. I wish you all to have a beautiful, harmonious day and see you tomorrow in daily concentration with the 1489999 program in us confirming eternal life. Thank you all. Thank you. See you
Thank you.
tomorrow. Thank you,
Thank
Marion.
you.
Thanks,
Merci.
Lydia.
Yes, yes. Merci. Bonne journée.